Just like a home, cars are more than just material things. They are extensions of who we are. They don't just take us places, but they connect us to memories. And every once in a while, we come across one that we want to settle in. This is one of those cars. According to the adage, we are an average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, or we are connected to. So in this case, that would be the Bentley Bentayga, the Lamborghini Urus, the Q7, the Cayenne, and the Touareg. Well, I'd have that. You could argue this looks as good as all of them, or in fact, better than a few. And it sits right in the sweet spot of some people's budget, where the Lamborghini is only affordable by Tyson Fury.
Just enjoy it now.
Enjoy what?
The Q8 is possibly attainable for a few of us who are prepared to put the rounds in.
Let's get it on!
It's actually hard to believe that this is a 5-year-old cabin. First thing you notice inside this cabin is that it's better than the Q5 and the Q7 in so much as the seats are softer. The materials appear to be a little bit softer, even though some of them are the same. 3-screen thing works for me. I didn't like it at first, love it now. Like that button there, because then you get your home address which you can put in. I also like the fact that this is probably one of the only cars in the world where you can do an entire word there for your navigation. The top screen, of course, very fast processor. They've obviously made it built to last. Maps are good. Apple and Android, of course, standard in there. And then this, which again has stood the test of time. Unlike its more expensive brothers, the Q8 also has Hollywood in its DNA. Star quality. I love the way that Audi are forward thinking enough to put their cars in places where our brains are fully invested, like for example on the big screen. So Audi firstly did this in the Transporter film, where the A8 was obviously the star of the show. But what's interesting about that is they'd have had a whole creative team deciding which car, what colour, what angles. There's more to it than you think. And in this particular case, with this car, they put it in Spider-Man in 2019. Yeah. Controversially, I chose this one because of this. The smoothest, silkiest 3-litre V6 diesel on the planet. 286 horsepower, 600 newton meters of torque, and a mild hybrid system for near silent coasting for up to 40 seconds at a time. Look at this. Not all mild hybrids are the same. This one uses the adaptive cruise system, which slows down for corners and roundabouts and takes that energy from slowing down to regenerate to charge the battery, which is very useful and a nice way of doing it. In fact, we could use that regeneration, couldn't we, and build like a fully electric car. The engine, which I averaged 40 miles to the gallon, left an indelible mark on me when I tried out the Touareg. This even did more than 40 miles to the gallon. Look at this. There's something very homely about the Audi V6 engine too, the way it purrs like a contented cat on your lap. Heartbreaking that Mercedes and BMW went the other way then. But for Audi, well, it's their gain. Have a look at this room in the back, by the way. This is a thing for me because normally, because it's sort of almost a coupe, you'd expect there to be less headroom, less legroom. That's not the case here. Look. Loads of knee room, lots of shoulder room. If you were 6'4", you could get in here. You could have your rugby mates in here, or your boxer. Anthony Joshua, he's 6'6". Doesn't matter, he'd fit, wouldn't he? He could sit back a bit. Yeah, I think this is an interesting thing, and I think that's because there isn't a 7-seat version. So if you could just have a smaller family. How many kids do you need? Same story in the boot. 1,755 litres, which is 200 less than the Q7, but 200 more than Kanye West gets in his Urus. And without the seats down, plenty of space for camping trips or other fashionable Audi driver hobbies, like base jumping, for instance. Or, for instance, say if you wanted to do some light exploration in, say, a picnic area like this one, in a forest, after dark. Let's talk about a couple of options that I think I would have. Firstly, before we do that, I'm going to show you this rather genius 3D camera, right? Have a look at this. So now, obviously, I can move this around, but the bit that is the best part for me is the fact that the wheels move. That's amazing. So now you can have the car and the wheels moving at the same time, back into reverse. That's got to be the best 360 camera in the world now, surely. Anyway, look, this car, if I look from the top, doesn't have a pan roof, so I would put that on just to make it a little bit lighter. This one's got the comfort and sound pack, which means you get heated seats, B&O sound system, which, by the way, B&O obviously listened to our reviews, and they've put a sound system in here that has actually quite blown me away. So B&O in the Q8 is not an issue. What else do you get with that? That's about, oh no, a special parking thing. It'll park itself if you don't like parking it. The other idea is for you to get the rear wheel steering, which I think is brilliant, because what it does is it moves the rear wheels in the opposite direction to the front wheels, making it extremely easy for you to maneuver an enormous car like this. And that is extremely useful if you find yourself in the unfortunate scenario of being in a multi-storey car park. Join us now in one of the famous multi-storey car parks in Britain, Gatwick South Terminal, Circular Car Park 1. A little too small for the Audi Q8. But let's see if the 360 camera is going to help us. We also have another challenge here as well. That is, can my girlfriend keep the camera still? It's not that difficult. Car is hardly moving, and it looks like we are just about to reach the exit, and we're through. Then there's the insurance, because the cheapest quote for me for one of these was £900 a year. That's quite considerable. You're not going to get much change out of about £1,000 then. It could be worse, could be a Range Rover. That's a worrying, crazy business going on there. You could argue though that this is slightly cheaper in terms of servicing, so about 20% versus the Mercedes or the BMW equivalent in terms of the servicing, which is actually really good, because normally BMW and Mercedes are very cheap with servicing, so that's good. You could say this is slightly better value than both of the competitors. I will admit that you might still develop a bit of OCD in relation to the finger marks on the screen. Nothing that a microfiber cloth or screen protector won't solve though. Then there is the price, because being a flagship, it does come with a flagship monthly price. But you're paying for very good refinement. And this car is extremely quiet. And get this. So this car was tested for its road noise, and the decibels were 64 decibels. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan was 71. This is quieter than a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. There's your takeaway. And that's amazing, particularly as this has 21-inch wheels. Brilliant. You can even make it quieter with dual pane glass. I don't like noisy cars. This is great. Lighting the road ahead in a brilliant way is only one thing. Here is the disco mode, of which there are 6 or 7 colours to bathe in. Here are those matrix lights, which work better for me than the BMW laser lights. It's like a light show as you drive home. So I feel I want to address some of the people that have said lukewarm things about this car, about the way it drives. There's one particular that said 3 stars in terms of driving and handling. I'm going to gently disagree with that. In fact, I think this is really quite good. And in comparison to its brothers, I think it's got something very special. For example, there's a massive tractor coming, and I don't want to ruin the paint, so I'm going to pull over. So the Q7 is a little bit like a train, The Touareg, you can feel the weight. So when you come to brake, this is 2,160 kilograms. The Touareg is probably about the same, but for some reason when you brake, you feel this enormous lurch of the car. It makes you feel a bit, oh dear, it's not that easy to drive. Then you've got the Lamborghini, which is just, for me, just a bit loud. It's a bit 200 grand, isn't it? It's a bit 200 grand. So what I would say about this is that this could be my new favourite SUV in the world, right? So ignore some of the things you read. Or is it the Touareg still? I don't know. Depends on the year. Touareg, nah. It's got a sort of design that will never look old, even in the future. It's rare, on the road too, and it's innovatively opulent. The engine, well, that'll never leave you stranded in a dark corner of a car park phoning up customer services. You know what I'm talking about. And whilst it's extremely relaxing to drive, it also has a very sporty and aggressive looking presence. And it's for these reasons and some others that I can't quite put my finger on that the Q8 is something you would want to hold on to for a very long time, if not forever. This could actually be the last car you'll ever need.